I'm going to share with you the exact system that we've used with 500 plus enduro racers to get them wrestling their bike around like a kid's toy for 3 hours plus on race day and being able to back that up day after day without going riding every day, without hitting the gym for hours and hours every week, so you can actually be competitive on race day. So we're going to have a look at a video here from Enduro Life Media, who have done a great job of capturing some of the racing from the Wildwoods Extreme Enduro in Italy, which is part of their championship. So first of all, I want to define what is fitness on the bike. Okay, what is fitness for enduro? And so the way that I define fitness for enduro is being able to ride at your race speed, your racing intensity, all the way through the race. That doesn't mean you're racing like flat at your all-out speed. It means being able to ride at your highest level of intensity all the way through the race. So if we were to look at your speed, your intensity, your effort all the way through the race, it should be moving like this, no matter how long the race is. If it's starting off like this and then dropping off, then that means that there's a problem with fitness. And there's a few different things that come into that bucket, which is what I'm going to share in this video for you. So what we use with our races, what we call the fast laps system, okay, and it's broken up into three components. So the first component is rider strength. So if we have a look at some of the footage here, you'll see that the bikes they're riding are probably 300s. Thought I'd pick a hard enduro video for this one because I've been doing a fair bit of cross country. So if we pause the video here and we have a look at this, assuming it's a 300, the bike probably weighs 110 kilos, 110 kilos. And then we've got the rider on top. So this particular rider there looks like he's quite tall. He might be weighing 85, 90 kilos. So if the bike's 110 kilos and then you've got a 90 kilo rider on top, that's a total of 200 kilos that this rider needs to be able to wrestle around for 3 hours plus, which obviously is quite challenging if you're doing hill climbs and wrestling the bike around like this person there, trying to be able to get up the hill. Okay, it's a lot of weight to be able to move. So to define rider strength, so if we pause the video again, rider strength is the most amount of weight that the rider can lift. Okay, not specific to riding, just in general. So for this particular rider here, how much can this rider lift overall? Okay, and the best way to be able to measure that is in the gym using lifting, because we've got a way to be able to measure how much strength is being used. Very hard to be able to do that out on the bike. So the reason that it's important is, like I just talked about, is because you've got a lot of weight there between the rider and between the bike. So when I was racing, how I used to train is I used to try and build up the muscles that were feeling weak on the bike. So I'd go to the gym and I'd go and train, and then I'd be like, all right, cool, my legs are getting sore, I need to do more leg exercises. So what I'd do is I'd go and do things like leg extensions. So I'd get on the leg extension machine, okay, and work my legs and try and fatigue them as much as I could at the gym in the hopes that they'd get stronger and they wouldn't get as tired on the bike. The other thing that I used to do is I used to do push-ups in the morning. So I'd try and work my arms a little bit more. So I was like, okay, like these riders here, let's see if we can have a look. So I was like, yep, cool. Like, you know, you're using your arms, moving backwards and forwards a fair bit. So I was like, cool, I'll try and do push-ups in the morning to try and get me stronger and help me to get through different sections of the track. The other thing I'd do is spin classes. So I did spin classes a lot, 3 or 4 times a week at the gym. And they'd have like an instructor at the front. They'd take you through a whole different types of workouts on the spin bike for 45 minutes, I think it was. And so I was hoping to build endurance in my legs and get my legs stronger from being able to do that. I thought, okay, cool. Like if I'm racing motocross or if I'm doing like a Pony Express, I'd be able to like go through sections and be able to have I thought, cool, my legs are being used a lot when I'm riding. If I go and train them a lot during the week and do lots of cycling, then surely that's going to build endurance into them. And then I'd be able to ride a full race at race speed. But I still wasn't able to. The mistake that I made is, there's a couple of mistakes. The first mistake that I made is that I tried to isolate specific areas of the body with my training. I was like, cool, my legs are sore, I'll just train more legs. But the thing is, when you're riding, we're going to have a look at this in a sec, your whole body is working together as one unit, as one system. It's not separate bits of your body just working on their own. So we'll have a look here. Let's wait until we get through, let's say, a hill climb here. I've watched the riding for a little bit. Let's say for this hill climb here, right? So when this rider's going up the hill, his legs aren't just working on their own, right? His quads aren't the only thing doing the work going up this hill. He's got his calves working, his hamstrings working at the back, there, his bum's working, his core's working really hard, his triceps and biceps are working, his lats are working. Everything from head to toe here is working really, really hard. As we watch him go up the hill, everything's working more and more and more because his body needs to be in the right position on the bike, and he needs to hold himself in those positions to be able to get to the top of the hill. Otherwise, he's just going to fall straight off the back if his body's not doing any work. So what I tried to do is isolate muscles. I was like, oh, my legs are sore, I'll just do more leg exercises. But it didn't transfer over well to the bike, and it doesn't transfer well over to the bike because that's not how the body works when you're riding. When you're riding, your whole body is working together from head to toe, so we need to make sure that we train the body like that during the week. The other thing that I did was the push-ups and the cycling, right? Trying to build endurance into my body, doing a lot of high rep stuff. The problem with that is I didn't get myself strong enough to be able to wrestle the bike around. So let's see what section we've got here. So we've got a bit of a hill climb. No, it's like that is a tough section. All right, let's have a look at this for a little bit. Let's see what section we've got here. So as this rider's going up the hill, okay, he's going to be wrestling a lot of that weight around as he's going up there. And the higher he gets, or if he falls off, or if he gets unbalanced, and he's got a lot of that weight that he needs to be able to move around himself as the rider. So let's keep watching here. Again, same section as before, right? So he's wrestling around a lot of weight. Now, when I was racing, I was about 70 kilos. So I was doing the push-ups with 70 kilos, I was doing the cycling with 70 kilos. There's no amount of cycling or no amount of push-ups that I could have done at my 70 kilos of body weight that would have got me strong enough to wrestle around the 110 kilo bike. Okay, there is no amount of, even if I quit what I was doing during the day and I just did push-ups all day and did cycling all day, I still wouldn't have the strength to be able to wrestle around a 110 kilo bike. And so the thing is, the stronger you can get yourself, the lighter the bike feels. And the lighter the bike feels, the less energy you'll use when you're riding. So have a look for this rider here, all right? If he is strong and has a high level of strength, this 110 kilo bike feels a lot easier to wrestle around. Okay, it's a lot easier to get through a creek section. It's a lot easier to do hill climbs. It's a lot easier to get over these rocks. It's a lot easier to be able to pick up off the floor if the bike gets dropped because the strength is there. And the thing is with enduro is because the races are so long, if you have one bit of the track that takes a lot of effort and energy out of you, then that leaves you less energy for the next section. And so then it doesn't matter all the skills work and all the ability you've got, all of that stuff just goes out the window. So what we do with our riders is we work on getting their overall strength a lot higher because we know when we can do that, the bike feels a lot lighter to move. When it feels lighter to move, they use less energy, which means they can ride harder for longer periods of time. And that's how we get them to 3+ hours on the strength side. That was a bit wild. The second area is rider cardio. So rider cardio is the ability for you to be able to keep a certain intensity on the bike or on a rowing machine or on a cycle bike for a period of time, okay? The better your cardio is, the higher you can hold that intensity and the longer you can hold that intensity for. Okay, that's what we're working towards. The reason that's important is because you're going to be racing for a long time. I don't know how long this specific enduro is here in Italy, but usually enduros are 3+ hours, okay, a minimum 3 hours plus. They're long, it's long periods of time on the bike, so your endurance, your cardio needs to be there to make sure you can be consistent with the strength that we just talked about. If you're really strong but don't have good cardio, you're going to find it hard to be able to hold on to that strength all the way through the race. You're just going to find that body's going to break down and you're not going to be as strong as what you were at the start. How I used to train. So I used to do club level swimming 3-4 times a week, just doing laps for 45 minutes or an hour. I did the spin classes, as I just said, and also did like a bit of cycling and mountain biking and stuff like that. Still wasn't able to do a full race at my race speed though. Okay, so why is that? The problem that I had, we're going to have a look here in a second. The problem that I had is there's 2 different types of cardio that I didn't even know about. So I want you to have a look here at this section. There's first of all one type of cardio, which is your long duration cardio. Okay, it's your ability to be on the bike to do something for a long period of time. So it could be riding on the enduro bike for 3 hours, it could be going for a run for an hour, it could be going for a mountain bike for a couple of hours. That's your endurance, okay, and that's one type of cardio. That's what most riders and racers focus on, and that's what I focused on. I figured, if I can do all this long distance cardio like I'm doing for racing, then I should be good. And I wasn't. The reason I wasn't is because in that 3 hours of racing, there's different levels of intensity. So I want you to have a look here. When this rider's going up the hill here, his body is using a lot of energy and it's taking a lot of physical effort. No matter how fit, no matter how strong you are, it's taking a heap of effort, right? So he's using a lot of energy, a lot of energy, a lot of energy. They're still using heaps of energy trying to save himself from rolling down the hill, okay? Then he gets, oh sorry, flicked. Not the best, right? So using lots of energy, that's a lot of energy picking the bike up. Lots of energy, lots of energy, lots of energy, there, okay? But what happens is we have these periods of rest. So as you'll see there at the start, everyone was waiting there before they tackled this next section. So that's resting, especially in hard enduro. You've got sections where you're using a lot of energy and your body's working really hard, but you've also got a lot of sections and areas where you're not using much energy at all. Like it might be a little bit of single trail between sections. It might be like waiting for some riders to move up, like on the trail there. Sometimes the trails get congested and you stop for a little bit, and then before you can really move. That's resting. Okay, so you've also got to be able to get your body very good at going hard for short periods of time, like doing a hill climb or going through a rock garden, but then being able to rest and recover quickly when you get those rest periods, and then being able to go hard again. And I didn't train that. Okay, I didn't do any training for that. All I was so focused on was just, I need to focus on holding the same intensity for forever. When that's not what happens when you go and ride and when you go and race enduro. Even for cross country, even for desert racing. There's parts of the track that require more effort than other parts of the track, so you need to be able to train that. The way that we train that with our races is we'll get them doing like their longer stuff on the weekends. We want them to build that longer duration cardio on the weekend by doing a longer ride, which also helps them to maximize their bike time. We focus on that shorter, sharper duration cardio during the week using interval training. Could be doing rowing workouts, could be doing like circuit type training. Anything where we're getting their heart rate very high, getting them to work very hard with a little bit of rest, and then getting them to work hard again, exactly like we've got those fluctuations like for this rider here. So see that bit at the bottom? It hops around a bit, this video. It's got a lot of shortcuts, but so we can see just the action. But you'll see there, that's using a lot of effort, right? And then there's the rest. And then there's always the rest before you start the section. The third section is rider nutrition. So the reason that rider nutrition is important, or first of all, what is it? Rider nutrition is just anything that you're putting into your body to help to feed it, right? And the reason that's important is because your muscles and your brain operate on calories and food. It needs food and energy coming in for those things to be able to work well. If we haven't got food and we haven't got stuff coming into our body, our brain, our body starts to shut down because it doesn't have the nutrients, it doesn't have the energy that it needs to be able to do what it needs to do. So what I used to do when I was racing, okay, is I've got a few things written down here, so I'm just going to have a look at them. I used to use like energy bars, I used to use protein bars, I used to use energy drinks like with caffeine, like similar to Red Bull, they were called Dark Dog. We had sports drinks like Powerade and Gatorade, glucose tablets. I used to have canteen food like, hamburgers or bacon and egg burgers, hash browns, all that sort of stuff. And then lollies, okay, which are like the usual moto type foods that a lot of riders and racers will have. And so I just didn't know any different. I thought like any food was good food, okay? Put food in, it gives you energy and off you go. But that's not what happens. So we're going to break it down here in a sec. The reason that this was a mistake is because I had no idea that my body actually needed specific types of fuel and specific types of food at certain times. So what I would do is I would either force feed food because I was like, I have to eat food to have energy. So I'd have a burger and chips from the canteen or have something that I brought from the car, have a muesli bar or something like that. Or I'd not eat at all because I'd be like, I don't want to eat too much because I've got to race soon. I don't want to have a full stomach. And both of those solutions were shit for me because one, I was force feeding food when I didn't want to eat it. So it made me feel crap because I was force feeding food. And the other one made me feel like shit as well because I wasn't eating any food. My body was just starving for energy and I'm flogging the shit out of it while I'm riding. So what we do with our riders, and the thing that I wish I knew when I was doing most of my race, spent most of my 14 years of racing not doing the right stuff and a very limited time actually doing the right stuff. Three things that we focus on with our riders. First thing is carb loading. Your body's using primarily carbohydrates when you're doing this type of riding. Okay, you're wrestling the bike around, you're moving a lot of weight, and you're doing it for short, sharp periods of time as you're going through a long race. So carbs are our primary fuel source. So you want to make sure that you're getting in some simple carbs before the ride and all the way through the ride. So what we do with our guys is they'll have 30 to 50 grams of carbs before a race, maybe a carb gel or a Powerade, a sports drink, and then for every hour of riding, 30 to 50 grams of carbs. Okay, so if we have a look here, in your pack, you can either put Powerade or Gatorade or like a sports drink or a carbohydrate in the pack, so it can go through your camelback straw. For hard enduro, that tends to be the go-to because you're doing a lot of stopping and starting. It's easy enough to put the straw in your mouth and get going. Otherwise, if you're doing faster type riding, like maybe more cross-country or desert racing, where it's a bit harder to put a straw in your mouth and get water in when you're flying along, then what you can do is put some gels in your pack, and then when you have your fuel stop, get your gels in to make sure that you're getting your carbs in. But it doesn't matter how you get it in, but we want those 30 to 50 grams of carbs in because your body's burning and chewing through the carbs. We want to make sure we're replacing them and putting them back in so you've got energy for the next hour of riding. That's something that I didn't even know about. Okay, I wasn't even doing that at all. I didn't even know that your body used primarily carbs. I was like, might have heard of carb loading, as in like have pastas the night before, but I didn't know about how to top up my carbs throughout the ride or throughout the race. The other thing is food timing, which we talked about just then, making sure you're getting it in every hour. The other thing is, like when I was racing, I would just worry about nutrition when I felt low on energy. Then I was trying to scramble to try and get energy and feel better. Once you get to that point where you've got no energy and you've like hit the wall, which happens a lot in enduro after the first hour, it's very hard to come back from that while you're still riding. Okay, so you really need to get on top of it beforehand, and that's what we do with our riders. Food timing also comes down to carb loading, so making sure like the night before and the morning of, increasing your complex carbs. Things like sweet potato, like brown rice, quinoa, you can use the morning of, 3 to 4 hours before your race, and the night before. That's going to make sure that your glycogen stores, so that the carbs that are in your muscle, which are like your carb fuel tank, I guess you could say, are topped up and at 100% before you go and race. And then the last thing is calories. Like for these guys, if we have a look, right? If we have a look how much this rider weighs, I don't know how much he weighs, maybe 75 kilos, 80 kilos, right? Just having a quick guess. That's without gear. So if he was overweight by 10 kilos, that means he's got an extra 10 kilos that he's got to be able to wrestle around on the bike, as well as a 110 kilo bike, and plus his body weight. He's got an extra 10 kilos of body fat that he's trying to move around as well. So calories are important to make sure that our riders are at the right body weight, okay, and got a minimal level of body fat to make it really easy on the bike. Think, if you've got 10 kilos less to wrestle around for 3 hours of riding, like that adds up by 3 hours. It's not like a 10-minute motocross race, right, where it's like said and done within 10 minutes. It's a long time to be able to carry an extra 10 kilos around when you're doing enduro. And likewise the other way, sometimes our riders don't eat enough, or they're on the leaner side, and we've got to increase their calories and get them eating a bit more food so we can get them stronger, so they can make the bike feel a little bit lighter. If you'd like a copy of the nutrition guide that we put together for our enduro races, for one of the big enduro races that we have here in Australia, what I'm going to do is put the link for it in the description. If you'd like a copy, you can grab a copy there, put it into action, and then come back and let me know how you go in the comments.